What's up, everybody? So today is a different kind of day. I'm sure you've already seen the title, but it's gonna be more of a story time thing, I guess. You know, I was thinking like, oh, should I play Fighters today? Should I play Xenoverse today? But for some reason, something in my mind told me it's time to tell this story. I get questioned about it a lot. People always asking me, I mean, you've seen the title already, all right? I used to work at 2K Games, so I kind of want to share that experience because there's a lot of people on the outside looking in who I guess wondered how that experience happened or how it was overall. So I figured, why not? Let's just have a chill little story video. I'm on this road to 200,000 subscribers before the end of 2019. Why not spread my wings a little bit and diversify outside of just gaming? Even though this is gaming, but you know what I mean, like gameplay, Dragon Ball video, whatever. So let's take it back. So before I worked at 2K Games, I actually worked at a bank. And before I worked at that bank, my very first job was I worked at a grocery store. That was my very first job. The reason why we have to go all the way back to the grocery store era, even though that was 2 jobs before 2K, is because it all has relevance, right? So I started working at the grocery store when I was in high school. And to keep it long story short, when I worked at this grocery store, I met an individual who shared common interests with me as it pertained to video games. Dog, I'm taking this way back. We used to push carts. I remember there was 2 individuals at this job, but the first one, we'll just call him person A. I remember we were pushing carts. We were both out there and we would just go out there, and as we're getting carts and stuff, we would spitball about like video game ideas and stuff. And eventually we were like, man, we could make a dope game, man. We could do it. I mean, we had no, you know, computer experience or anything like that at the time, nothing, but it was just all conceptual, you know what I mean? So after some time passed, again, this is like long story short because the story could be super long. Wait till my autobiography comes out, all right? It's not coming, I'm not making 50 years from now, all right? Just chill. But this individual ended up moving, all right? He moved out of the city and I was just kind of like left there. But before he moved, there was another individual that also had a common interest in the game. And me and him kind of became like partners at that point. So every single day when I would go to work at the grocery store, we would come up with these game ideas, blah, 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 blah. And eventually I graduate high school. I'm still working at the grocery store for a little bit after that time, but I decide I'm going to start going to school for this. So I end up going to college majoring in computer science because I wanted to learn how to just construct my own game from scratch. Just I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn all this computer crap and do it, whatever. Some time passed, and after I believe going to school for a year, maybe 2 years, something told me that school wasn't for me. It just, I felt like it wasn't necessary because all the time I was spending doing classes that had nothing to do with what I was trying to teach myself. The internet exists. I felt like I could be teaching myself anything. I feel like nowadays you can teach yourself anything you want to learn. You just have to do it because it's all there. It's all on the internet for you. You can learn literally whatever you want to learn without going to school for it. And at the end of the day, if you want to own your own business, and I'm not trying to get people to drop out or anything, all right? But who are you going to show your degree to if you're going to be your own boss? I knew I wanted to be my own boss, right? So it's like, why am I working so hard to get a piece of paper that ultimately I'm just gonna show to myself and put on a wall? And then you're like, oh, it's the educational knowledge behind that. Well, that goes back to my original philosophy of you can teach yourself anything you want to learn as long as you're willing to put the time and effort into doing it. And you save yourself from getting thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. This is all gonna get to the 2K portion, okay? I just wanted to tell you how it all got there. We're getting there, okay? So blah, 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 blah. I leave school and then eventually I want to start making more money, I guess. So I get a job at a bank. Meanwhile, I'm still keeping in contact with my former coworker at the grocery store at that time. And we would always, you know, text, talk about the game, come up with these, you know, scripture text messages about storylines, plot, characters, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing all the character art. By the way, people wonder like how I learned how to draw, I guess. I mean, I'm not like the greatest artist, but like if you've seen my art videos, like I can get by sort of thing. I taught myself and I do all the character art for this game. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions about the game, but that's for another video. Maybe someday, just give that time, all right? This is about 2K. But after working at the bank for a little less than a year, I would say over 10 months, less than 12 for sure, somewhere in that ballpark, I really started to feel antsy and I started to feel complacent. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate in terms of like when you're at you know, somewhere where you don't really want to be, whether it be like, you know, school or like your full-time job, your day job, and just in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, I guess, you're thinking about all the things that your dreams, you know what I mean? Like what you want to be doing. Like, you know, I'm sitting here in a suit, you know, because when you work at the bank, you got to dress all fancy. I got the tie on and everything. I got my own desk. I've been promoted at that point already. And I'm just like, I'm making pretty solid money, but I don't want to, like, this isn't what I want to do. You know what I mean? Because a quote that I want to ring in your head that I thought of, I guess, that always stuck with me is, what's more important than wealth, like financial wealth, is a wealth in happiness. And that sounds like kind of corny, but it's true, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. You see all these celebrities making like so crazy amounts of money, and then you see that they OD on drugs and, you know, they commit suicide and blah, blah, blah. Everybody's different. And I want to be sensitive to, you know, celebrities who have gone through that. But still, the fact remains, like, money does not always equal happiness. You get the point. Follow your dreams type shit. So again, I had already dropped out of school for you know, computer science, and I was working at the bank, and I just couldn't help but to feel stuck some days. Every time I clocked in, I felt like stuck. Like, is this it for me? Like, I'm just gonna be working at a bank. I'm just gonna, you know, move up the ranks, because I'm good at, and this is gonna sound like arrogant or cocky, but like any job you put me in, I feel like I can succeed, but that doesn't mean I'm happy. Like, again, I had already gotten promoted at this point at the bank, but I wasn't happy. But this game was always in the back of my mind. I would like find time to like write little Word docs on the game and stuff, and like close it whenever a supervisor would walk by or anything. Sorry if you're watching this video. Y'all ain't watching this video. What am I talking about? So it was just one day I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done. So I literally was trying to find any entry-level game development jobs I could possibly find. And what I ended up doing is literally, again, okay, so I was living in Colorado at this time. I probably applied, and I'm not exaggerating, to 20 different places around the entire country. Didn't tell my parents because I was still living at home at this time. But my whole idea was, no matter who hires me, I don't care where it is, I don't care who it is, whoever in the game development industry decides to give me a chance, that's where I'm going to move, period. Could be in New York, could be in freaking Alaska, Hawaii, could be in Florida. I don't care where it is. No matter who decides to give me the chance, that's where I'm gonna go, and I'm just gonna make it work somehow, some way. Like, I wanted to live like a explorer. I had no kids at the time. I had no responsibilities other than myself. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna fail, I might as well fail now. You know what I mean? You might as well fail early before you get all those responsibilities. But you don't know until you try. So I had to try. So again, I applied to 20 different places. We'll just call it 20. It might have been more, might have been slightly less. What I did is I had this notebook, and I wrote down every single place I applied to. I wrote a list, and I made this chart, right? And I would check off the amount of times that I called them to follow up my application, basically annoying them until they were like, all right, fine, let's just get them in for an interview, okay? So some days passed. I'm calling them back like within, I don't know how long I waited, but it was like less than a week after I applied. I would call every single place. I'd find their number, I'd call them, and just do this. A lot of times it would be on my lunch break while I was working at the bank. Like, I'd clock out for lunch, and then it was just business. Like, I just went straight to my little notebook, pulled out my phone, and I'm calling these places like, hey, have you got my application? I just want to know the status on it, blah, 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 that type of crap. And after a while, I finally got a breakthrough. I get a call, and it's a Las Vegas number. And I was like, oh man. I didn't even know who it would be, because again, I applied to so many different places. I was like, all right, whatever, let's answer it, because it's from out of state. It's got to be one of these game development companies, right? So I answer it, and it turns out to be HR for 2K. So the way 2K is set up is they have testing grounds, and then they have the development area, right? So their testing department is in Las Vegas, but where all the development and stuff, and they also do testing, is up in California. I get a call from 2K, and they're like, oh yeah, you can get an interview. I don't think they knew that I was applying from out of state. They're like, yeah, we can give you an interview, blah, 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 but the only available window for an interview would be Thursday or something. It was Tuesday when they told me this. I'm out of state. You don't know how far away Denver is from Las Vegas. It's a good like 14 hours away, depending on which way you drive. But I didn't even think about that. I didn't think of all the rational crap behind it. I was just like, okay. Like, I'm starstruck at this point because I'd been playing 2K games all my life. So part of me is like starstruck, like, oh my god. I don't realize like it's, you know, it's just a game company. Like at this point I look at it like that, but at that point it's just like, oh my god, this is like 2K. Like this is where it all happens, you know. And I didn't even know the difference between where they do development, where they do QA testing, blah blah blah. But nonetheless, I'm like, okay, I'll be there. I'll do it. So they give me the time, they give me the day. So literally right after I hang up that call, I come back in from lunch because this happened during my lunchtime, literally while I was at work. I get on my little computer, and then, you know, with the little extra tab, you know, I'm doing my work, you know, whenever a customer walks in, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you want a new account? Oh, I can set you up with this package, blah, 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 blah. But on that other tab, I'm booking a flight. And this is the first time I booked my own flight. I was young, man. I was like 19 or 20 or something at the time. I don't know. I was young. I couldn't even buy alcohol at the time. But nonetheless, I set up my flight, and then I got to go home and explain to my parents that yeah, I might be getting a job in Las Vegas. And that kind of hit them like a truck. I mean, my dad received it all right. He didn't, like, he was like, yeah man, go for it, blah blah blah, because that's kind of like his personality. But my mom was like all logical and like, you know, oh, how are you gonna pay the bills, blah blah blah, like how are you gonna, you know, all the logistical stuff that I know I need to think about, but I wasn't thinking about that. My head was just like, get this job, period. All right, so blah blah blah. Again, I'm trying to make this long story short, but I feel like all this is relevant information. All right, I know this is gonna be a longer video, but whatever. So I fly out to Las Vegas. I get an Uber, or was it a taxi? I don't remember. I get some sort of ride over to where, you know, where it's located, where 2K QA testing is located in Vegas, and I go in. And mind you, this is a job. So let me break down what the circumstances are. This is a job interview for a position, for a temporary position, a 3-month temporary position, where you have a chance to stay on full time if they really like you, or I was pretty much going to be jobless in a city where I knew absolutely nobody. That was the risk here. That 3-month period was stressful. I mean, I think at the time I kind of tuned it out, but like looking back at it, I don't know how I just like went somewhat unfazed, because I think I kind of told myself like, there's no way I'm going to, like, I didn't even fathom failing. I didn't even think about failing. Like I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm not gonna make it. So we started with about 60 people, right? So there was competition. Everybody's trying to be the best, write the best bugs, write the most bugs, quality and quantity, etc., etc. But it doesn't start to feel real until we call it the purge. Boy, them purge days were the scariest days ever, because what would happen is you would just be sitting there, you know, doing your thing, testing, you know, you're working these long shifts, 12-hour shifts, and then you look over, one of your homies who started with you that you've been going through this with just gets a tap on the shoulder from like a couple managers. They walk away and you just don't see them again, bro. They're just gone. Or sometimes no, that's dramatic. Okay, hold on. They come back, they get their stuff, and then they're gone. You don't know what happened. I mean, everybody knows what happened, but it's just like, and then they never just do one person. It's always like, it's, you know, they evaluate, see how people are doing. And then, you know, they have these certain days. Nobody knew when the days would come. They didn't, like, you can't anticipate it. You can't be like, oh, the day's coming up, I gotta like really get my shit right now. It's more like, well, you gotta see one guy go, and then it's like, oh, it's one of those days. And I watched a lot of people, man, that I would like, that I'd become somewhat close with. You know, we'd play pool during lunchtime a lot in the break room and stuff like that. And, you know, like, just to see them, you know, I hope they're doing well now, but it was scary. It was the purge, man. And they had a few of those days, and those days occurred over and over again until finally that 3 months was up, and then there was just like the last few were standing. So it went from a super populated crowd, and this was a big office. It was 2 floors, massive office type thing. So that's why I came in with like 60 people, and there was already a bunch of people already employed at the time. Yeah, I don't know how many of us made it, but let's just spitball. Of the 60 people, less than 10 of those people made it, and your boy did his thing, and I was one of them. It was scary though. I don't want you guys to think like I just walked right through it. Like, it was tough. You're working like these 12-hour shifts, you know, you can't call out for anything, otherwise they're gonna hold that against you. I mean, and it's not a knock on 2K, but like, you know, they're trying to assess who's the best of this massive group of 60 people. So you gotta like really find or what's the word? You really gotta pick needles from a haystack to find out who's the sharpest ones. But nonetheless, your boy was one of them. So I got the job. It was a big relief. I was super happy about it, super excited, and it was amazing. Like, I was just kind of elated that I got it. But after a while, that high, like that little high you get from being full-time, and just so you guys know, I started out on WWE 2K16. That was the game that I did over my 3-month temporary period, right? But then right when the game is released, right when a game is released, you're automatically assigned to a different game. I don't want to go over every game that I've been a part of, but I was a part of at least 4 or 5 games. All right. The first one was 2K16 WWE, which was in 2015, because obviously it occurs in 2050, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to explain that to you. I moved on to another game. I'm going to skip a couple games, blah, blah, blah. I ended up on NBA, all right, which is where I wanted to be for a while. I ended up on NBA 2K. The first NBA game I was on was 2K17. And this is where something really, really cool happened with 2K, all right? So again, like I mentioned before, the testing site, the main testing is in QA Las Vegas or whatever, right? QA testing occurs in Las Vegas. That's where I was working. That's where I'd been for about a year at that time, maybe a little less-ish. Maybe it was probably over a year. And there was this really cool opportunity that came up where a select few testers, they had to be like legit. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I was nice when I wanted to be, all right? I wasn't always nice. You gotta wait till the end of this whole 2K story and you'll see why. A cool opportunity popped up where essentially a couple of good testers were gonna get the opportunity to basically do a 3-month internship type thing with Visual Concepts, which is the company that makes the NBA 2K games, right? What most people know 2K games for. And again, at this time, I didn't have crazy responsibilities. I had already met my now current wife, but other than that, I didn't really have any heavy responsibilities. I'll give you that whole my wife's story another time if you guys are interested in like videos like this. Just let me know. But for now, let's stay on the 2K topic. That was happening on that was a different plot line that was occurring at the same time. But nonetheless, I managed to be one of those few people who were able to get all living expenses paid to go live in California essentially for 3 months up in North California, around the San Francisco area. It's in the Bay Area, right? But that experience was amazing. So again, like they're paying for my living out there, or, you know, just like I still had to pay for my food and everything. They just paid for the crazy rent that is California rent. And I essentially got to live out there. And just so you guys know when this was happening, this was when, for those who have been subscribed to me for a long time, when I did the first SeeReax games, the very first one, I believe all of them were recorded when I lived in California. So if you notice, the background was a little different. It was in that arc, the SeeReax games V1, the first one where I was facing off against these YouTubers. That all occurred when I was in California. So that's where I started meeting all these YouTubers and stuff like that. I had already been doing a little bit of YouTube stuff on the side. Like obviously I did stuff before the SeeReax games, but that's where I was really starting to like take YouTube a little more seriously. But I don't know exactly where I was in terms of YouTube at that time. I had done like some pranks and stuff like that on the side, but this is more of a 2K story, so I'm not going to get like deep into what I was doing on YouTube, although YouTube is relevant because I ended up leaving 2K because of YouTube. But let's talk about my experience in California. It was amazing compared to, and this is no shade at QA Vegas, I had a homeboy who I met in Cali who ended up working back with me in Vegas when I went back after the 3-month period. And we would always refer to California as the promised land. I'm not trying to put your name on blast, but I'll just call him T. Shout out to T, man. When I was out in California, that's where like the real grind was. Despite it being really fun, really cool, because like they really took care of you. The reason why I say it was amazing is because like, despite working even longer shifts there, like I thought 12-hour shifts were a long time in QA Vegas. Dog, I would be there for like 14, 15, sometimes 16 hours in Cali, because like your responsibilities are a lot higher. You're really working with the dev team. You can even make suggestions, and that's when my name was actually, you know, I get tweeted a lot about like, oh, why are you on my social media? It's because like literally the guy who works with, you know, constructing that part of the game, came up to me and was like, hey, you know, give me a picture, give me your name, and we'll throw you in the game, you know, that type of thing. It was really cool. So that's how that came to be for all those asking like, oh, how are you in 2K? I just noticed this, oh, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. It's because I used to work there. But yeah, despite working all that crazy hours, it was just a nice experience because on that site, you know, like there's somewhere where you can go work out. We would go play basketball during our lunch hours. Like everybody would meet up. You could take a little extra time here and there. It was much more laid back, despite it was more work, but more laid back. Like if I ever had a work environment, I'd try to recreate something like that. So big shout out to Visual Concepts. They really nailed it with, you know, how they treat employees and everything. I really enjoyed that. But then the time came that those 3 months ended, and I had to go back to Las Vegas. I had to return to my standard position at the testing, QA testing or whatever department. And I'm not gonna lie, part of that experience, like although it was a super positive experience, it was almost too positive, because when I came back, I was like looking around like, God damn, man. During that experience, also, again, I didn't go deep into the YouTube stuff. That's when I really started grinding on YouTube like hard, because despite working these crazy shifts, I would still, a lot of times, this is when I started my infamous or famous, whatever some people know about it, going all the way back home on my lunch hour just to like finish up a video or upload a video. Like if sometimes I would miss those lunch period basketball sessions so I could go back home and just finish up a video and like just start really grinding. This was before Xenoverse 2 came out. We were like doing speculation videos and stuff like that. You know, it was late Xenoverse 1 days, early Xenoverse 2, you know, just getting, you know, random news stuff. I remember going home to like do a little breakdown of like a Turles versus Goku thing. Like it all happened there, man. But that's where the YouTube grind really started. So the reason why I had to bring that up, now again we go back to Vegas, the experience was so good there. And it's not that the experience is so bad in Vegas. It's not. I'm not trying to say anything negative about them, because I left on good terms. You know, I did end up quitting, but it was on pretty good terms. You know, I have no ill will towards them. But after having that experience, it was just like, it was almost like, damn, man, it's hard to go from that to this. And meanwhile, again, like my YouTube is starting to, you know, it's starting to creep up a little bit. I'm on the come up on the YouTube side. And then I guess it was around this time that, and I gotta mention it because it's all relevant to why I left 2K in the long run. Your boy had gotten an individual, my current wife, knocked up. I was gonna be a dad, man. It happened, like real, like it just happened. You know, the thing was done, and then the deed was. So that gave me this newly found motivation to really put the grind in gear and like really see where I could take this YouTube thing. And when that happened, that's when I started to lose as much of a priority as I had for 2K Vegas, because again, without slandering them, it's not as glamorous of pay as you might think. There are positions where the pay is better, but for my specific position, and I could have probably been promoted if I really put my effort into it, but I was distracted. I'm not gonna lie. Like I had these other goals and these other ambitions, and it started to almost become the bank to me again. Like I would sit at the bank, right, and I would think about all these aspirations I have, and now it started to become the same thing. Whereas like I'm becoming complacent at 2K because I just had this great experience. Now I feel like I'm having slightly lesser of an experience compared to there. So I think my performance started to reflect that a little bit. I noticed like I started to become like, I was still good. I had my good days, but then I would have days where I'm just like zoned out. You know, I'm not doing as well as I know I should. And that's not fair to the company. So in the back of my mind, I already knew that I couldn't stay there. I would even tell a coworker who does watch my videos, he might be watching this video now, shout out to, I'll call him R, you know who you are, homie. I would tell him during my lunch breaks, I'd be like, man, I'm gonna quit right when I have to. It's not only is it not fair to the company, but I got a baby coming, and like I want to be able to, you know, be there. You know what I mean? I can't be working these 12-hour shifts and 10-hour shifts when I got a baby at home. Like I've always wanted to, like, one of my biggest, you know, corny aspiration here, maybe it's not corny, but I was always like really big on Like when I was a kid, I would always be like, man, when I'm a dad, I'm gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like be a good ass dad type thing. So like that was very important to me. So all this kind of fueled my ambition, and that's when like the grind really started. And like I remember going to like the Starbucks that was near my job just on the hour break that I had, just to like edit up a video on like this cheap old crap laptop, and just trying to get videos done. And then like at some point during that arc, I guess if you want to call it that, I moved in with my, again, current wife, at the time girlfriend. And a lot of times I remember I would have to call her during like my, I would wake up like at 5 in the morning just to like record a quick video. And then I go to work. And then, during my first break, I would call her and just like instruct her on how to upload a video, and blah, 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 man. I grinded really, really, really hard. And eventually 2K just wasn't the priority to me. And it's mainly because I guess I was never destined to work for somebody. I just wasn't. Like I have too strong of a personality. The crazy Deion that you guys see on my videos would sometimes want to pop out at work, and like it doesn't fly at work. Like you got to stay in check. You gotta like, it's almost like I was being caged, and I couldn't do that. I have this personality. I'm a very, I guess, artistic person, and it was getting the better of me. I remember having like anxiety, and part of it I felt like was not because of the job. It was just not because of the specific job. It was because of having a job in general, where I felt like I needed to be free and like do my own thing. And I still get anxiety from here to there, but never as bad as that one instance where I was like literally hospitalized for it. I eventually made it, man. I remember when I quit, I was finally making equal amount on YouTube as I was at my day job. And I said, once I hit that point, I'm just going to leave, and then I'm just going to hopefully, take it further and, hopefully not fall on my face and, lose my job or whatever. I took a risk again, and it paid off. And every time I've taken a big risk, I've always had a plan, and I've always executed, and I've always worked my ass off. And so far, I haven't failed yet. So I appreciate you guys for that. A lot of you guys were there for that struggle arc, and you're here for this arc now, and I can't wait to see where things go in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Deion. I'm known as SeeReax on YouTube. I'm trying to get 200,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It's a very ambitious goal. It's looking very unlikely now, but I'm not going to give up until goddamn December 31st, 11:59. I'm still going. I don't care if I'm 5,000 away at that time, but I'm going to still push on it. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, comment your favorite part down below, even though it's more of a story time. If you want more of these, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next one. And with that, I just have 2 more words to say.